Hello, I'm Rob Thompson, your English instructor, and I wanted to talk to you today about writing a research paper using MLA. If you've taken a science class, psychology or something, you may have written an APA style paper, but in English we traditionally write with using the MLA format. So that's what we're doing now. What I have done here online, and by the way, any questions you have about this, this is structured as a class so you have written a research paper, you're familiar with it, and this is just a review. If you need more than a review, if this is really foreign to you, then I encourage you to get in touch with me, email me. I'll answer your questions via email, or of course we can also meet face to face if we need to. So I'm happy to help you any way I can. However, keep in mind that when you submit a research paper, if it does not contain research, if it does not contain internal documentation and a works cited page like we're about to discuss, then you will get a 0 and you will have to write it again. It is a requirement of the class that you write some kind of research paper. It doesn't have to be the best thing ever. It does have to have some research in it. And you do have to at least attempt to follow the MLA format. So if you have a question, don't just ignore it. I was talking to a colleague the other day, and I said, you know, there are 1,000 ways to do this wrong. And there's only one way to do it right. And so be sure you know how to do it right before you submit your final draft. Be sure you have done it right. And if you have questions, be sure to ask. And again, you can always just Google any question you have about it. You can just Google MLA, whatever the question is, and you can find all the information online, which is what I've done. I Googled research paper example MLA, and of course it takes you to the Purdue OWL, which is kind of the holy grail, the big source online for formatting MLA questions, grammar, punctuation, that kind of thing. And this and my computer is not very cooperative. But anyway, here you see all these different topics about MLA that you may have questions about as you write your papers. You can always, go to these MLA frequently asked questions, for goodness sake. Maybe that would help you. All kinds of information here to help. But what I have done on another page from the Purdue website, I'm not sure where it is honestly, but it has a sample paper, and that's what this is. This is a sample paper that I want to go over with you now, and hopefully this again is just a review. Notice the title page information. Everything is double spaced. You have, of course, it's Times New Roman 12-point double spaced, 1-inch margins. That's standard for any kind of paper, certainly in an English class. My name, the teacher's name, the English class you're taking, 2130, 1101, 1102, whatever it may be, and the date it is due is what that is. And then if you want a title, you center the title. Usually I do not require titles, but if you wish to have a title, go for it. You center that, and then you start the body of your paper. And again, it's all double spaced. I'm not going to read all these little boxes to you, but again, they are helpful, and I encourage you to look at them. So let's talk about now the internal documentation. So in MLA, as a general rule, I expect each body paragraph to have at least one documented, one piece of information that comes from an outside source. And so that's what this is, for example, right here, Dan Hoff. Dan Hoff is the author's last name, and it was on page 5. In APA, you put the year here. You put the year that it was published. But in MLA, you do not put the year, you put the page number. Now, of course, if it's an online source, if it's not paginated, you don't put the page, you just put the author's last name. But anyway, there's Dan Hoff, here's Hurt. So we have two different sources here, Dan Hoff and Hurt. And again, it's just author's last name, space, page number. No P period, no page, no comma. Excuse me. Just a space. So we have Dan Hoff and Hurt to start off with. So I go to my works cited page. And again, my computer is so annoying. I go to the works cited page. Here at the end, you have a separate works cited page, as I hope you know. There it is. And at the top, you have works cited, capital W, capital C. It's a whole separate page, and your works cited page should look exactly like this. Again, I've been teaching now, many high school for 28 years, and I would wave an example around in class. Your works cited page should look just like this. It's all double spaced. your entries are alphabetized, your reverse indentation so that you do not indent the first line, but you indent all the subsequent lines. And of course, inevitably, someone would do it wrong. Like I said, there's one right way to do it, and this is it. Anything else you do is wrong. So I hope you do it correctly. But then notice why you do reverse indentation. It's easy to find the sources. See, Dan Hoff and Hurt. Here's Hurt at the very bottom. They're alphabetized, and the word that was documented is sticking out in the margin. So it's, again, easy to find. And every one of these sources that's listed has been cited at least once in the paper. That's why it's called a works cited page. All of these sources are cited in the paper, again, at least once. Once you've got it cited in the paper, you have to put it on the works cited page, first of all. You have to include the work that you have cited on the works cited page. But once you've got it on there, on the works cited page, and once you've cited it at least once, then you're good. You can cite it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 1 time, it doesn't matter. But it has to be cited at least once. I always say be glad you do not have to have a works not cited page. That would take the rest of your life, obviously. Do not list works that you didn't cite. And when I say cite, I mean you cited the first word of the works cited entry, just like we saw with Dan Hoff and Hurt earlier. Now, there are a couple examples down here that are a little problematic. Historical Census Browser and Morrill Land Grant Act of 1862. These do not have authors. But again, that doesn't matter because the rule is you cite the first word of the works cited page. So in internal documentation, you would cite historical, or you could do the whole thing if you want to, Historical Census Browser in quotation marks, since it's in quote, and you would cite that in place of the author's last name. You're again citing the first word of the works cited entry. And be sure that, again, you're going to have the how many sources you have cited in the paper is how many you have listed here. You do not have to have a notes page. The sample paper here has a notes page. You certainly do not have to have any notes. I do not want any subheadings. This paper has subheadings and all kinds of crazy stuff that I certainly do not expect. I just want you to write a nice, normal paper, that's divided up into paragraphs and is, it documents the information properly. Now, if you're citing a couple of things now, let's go back to that works cited page. The question now becomes, how do you know what information to put in here? How do you know what goes in what order? Well, again, the Purdue, if I can go back to this link here, it says MLA works cited entry, electronic sources, MLA works cited periodicals, books. So if it's an electronic source, if it's an internet source, you would just click on that and it shows you how to do it. There are other ways of doing it, citation machine, some other things you may have used in the past. That's all well and good. But somehow you have to find out how to get the information in here. I was going to say something else about that. Again, you have to look it up and determine. And again, if you have questions, you can always ask me. But if you have a question, I'll probably have to look it up as well. I don't have all this memorized after all these years. I just look it up. It's really not that hard. Okay, I gotten something, but maybe not. So anyway, that is basically what I'm looking for with your works cited page and your internal documentation. I know what it was. If you are getting information from a database, again, as a rule, in a college level class, you cannot just do a generic Google search. You have to get information from one of the GNTC databases, a Galileo or something like that. There's a very specific way you cite a work from a database. So again, you want to Google MLA works cited entry from a database, work from a database, and it'll tell you how to do that. The word Galileo should be in your entry if it comes from Galileo or whatever the database is. Also, if you're citing literature from the anthology, be it the 1102 literary anthology or the 2130 literary anthology, there's a specific way to do that as well. You should cite the author of the actual work. If you're analyzing a piece by Mark Twain or Kate Chopin, then you would start with Twain or Chopin and then you would have the information about the anthology that you used, the textbook that you used. And so you again need to see how to cite work from an anthology, and then again in your internal documentation you would cite Twain or Chopin, the actual author of that piece, not the editor of the book. The editor of the book goes in the entry, but it's not first. And so those are a couple of things that students mess up on. So again, this has been a review. Hopefully this all rings a bell to you. Hopefully you stayed with me till the end. If you have questions, please email. Please come see me if you have a lot of questions. Again, if you do not turn it in a paper that at least attempts to have research in it, then you will have to take a 0 and you'll have to do it again until you get it acceptable. But hopefully this has been helpful to you. Thank you for your attention, and best of luck with that paper. I look forward to reading it, and I know you'll do great. Thank you again.